Everything you touch, everything you use was invented. From the words you speak to the shoes you wear, invention creates the future. I'm Tasia Thomas, and I invented the More modern zipper.
In America, we have invented some of the most important inventions and technologies in the world. I'm Gene Dolgoff, and I invented the LCD projector in 1971. Patents give incentive to inventors to come up with new and important ideas. And that's allowed us to go from agriculture to the moon.
I'm Clay Nolan, and I created the Ventor.
My name is Randy Landrino, and I've invented a new type of pet brush.
My name is Adrian Pelkis. I invented the wound treatment system called the Omizly.
My name is Bryce Michael Everhart. I make lapel pins, bow ties, and pocket squares.
It's an American concept that you can invent something and that you can have a clear legal title to it. That's what a patent is. Our founding fathers felt that patents were so important, they put it in the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights. It wasn't an amendment. It's in the base Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 charges Congress with protecting the rights of inventors. Hi, I'm Congressman Thomas Massey, and I invented the Phantom Haptic Interface.
I'm Susanna Dormany, and I created a dynamo-powered vaccine carrier for third world countries.
My name is Miracle, and I invented the Petty Claw.
This was a real achievement. This is the first time in human history they authorized the government to protect patents as property rights.
Protection of patents, that individual to invent, is the essence of liberty.
And this is fundamental to having a flourishing society and a growing innovation economy.
The purpose of inventing is to make a real difference in people's lives. It's that creative spark.
I believed in the patent system, I still do. All of us do. This is what secures to inventors the exclusive right to their discoveries. I thought that was the deal. I followed the law. I've received patents. Now it's worthless. The infringer got off scot-free copying my invention. That's why I'm burning my patent today.
And one of the things we've taken so for granted is this patent system. And what we're seeing now is a total destruction of that.
Congress created an out-of-control administrative tribunal, the death squad for patents.
Big tech companies, they want to dilute the patent system.
The tech industry and the internet economy has put intellectual property under attack.
China steals U.S. intellectual property, and that's to the tune of somewhere between $300 to $600 billion a year.
Enough of stealing the ideas of these inventors. Enough of trying to apply socialism to invention.
When you have that, pretty soon you don't have any concept of private property anymore. You go the way of many countries who have tried a communistic or socialistic approach to everybody owns everything.
Founding fathers, they came to this country fighting for the right to have the ability to prosper off their own ideas. That idea is being taken away from us now, an essential right. What has changed?
I'm Josh Malone, and I invented Bunch-A-Balloons.
Unleash the thrill of summer with Bunch-A-Balloons. Now you can fill and tie over 100 water balloons in just 60 seconds. Unleash summer fun super fast with Bunch-A-Balloons. Each pack sold separately, only from Zuru.
I'm just a really big kid, and so I played with water balloons when I was a kid. But then my kids got old enough, we just wanted an excuse to throw water balloons at each other. I don't think anyone else ever fills up 500 water balloons. I mean, it would take all day. And I would tell the kids to gather around and fill their share of water balloons. And it's like an hour and a half later, they're like, Dad, can we please play with the water balloons? And I'm like, no, we're not done. I would spend a lot of that time thinking that there's gotta be a better way to do this.
What about that? No, you can roast it. That whole thing, we need one.
Do you guys remember when we first started trying to solve the problem with water balloons? You got really wet.
So wet.
They didn't work very well.
I feel like at that point he had made like 5 or 6 different inventions that could all fill balloons.
Well, what had happened was I had gotten sick, so I'd actually been 90% paralyzed for a year. And at that time, he had to quit working entirely in order to take care of me and the kids. I mean, it was pretty extreme. We had eaten through all of our savings entirely, and you have to have quite a bit of savings to think about inventing.
I had 1 month left, really, to try to solve this problem, which I'd been dealing with for a long time, and the family had been dealing with. It was the middle of winter, wasn't it?
It was so cold, and you had me hold it with a couple of times when you filled it up, and it would like sprinkle on my hands, and I'd be shivering.
Yeah, we had to put the little balloon on each individual stick.
We had no idea it was huge. In fact, I think I said, "Oh, that's good." And then what's for dinner?
We had it, this prototype worked, and so then that changed all the plans. We've got to give this a try, and so scraped together the funds to do a video and put up a Kickstarter campaign.
You ready? Whoa, where'd you get all those? It's bunch of balloons. Let me show you.
My kids were the featured talent. They're still embarrassed when they see that video because it's just 3 or 4 years ago, and they wonder, like, why did I wear that?
So it went up, and we would go online, and we were all watching, and we could see that a couple people were buying, and then the numbers just kept going up, and we would try to do school and normal things. We just kept coming back to the computer and watching, and it continued to go up and up. And I think it was the first or second day already somebody wrote about it, and we're getting goosebumps. I think this might work.
It was one of the most popular projects on Kickstarter during that time. It raised almost $1 million. By the second day, it had gone mainstream.
I'm here with Josh Malone, who's an inventor who came up with an awesome thing called Bunch of Balloons. You advertise 100 water balloons can be blown up in less than a minute.
That's correct. Our lives changed. I had to figure out how to fill all these orders. Walmart's emailing me, and I'm calling them, and we need a couple million units. So I'll get back to you on that. And then some toy manufacturers contacted us.
You were getting tons of toy manufacturers.
Yeah.
You were on the phone with a toy manufacturer when Today Show called.
Everyone else is tying balloons by hand. We've got the only way that'll do it for you, and it'll do it at 100 balloons per minute. We're investing seriously in this now. We need the patent rights to protect that.
Unenforceable in the United States. That's why I'm burning my patent.
Makes me feel like I'm wasting my time. And what we're seeing now is a total destruction of that.
Now it's worthless. That's why I'm burning my patent today.
Hi, I'm Tasia Thomas, and I invented the more modern zipper. So I came up with the idea when I was 20 years old. I have a pet rabbit, and he bit through my laptop case's zipper. It really got me focused on zippers. It's very high tensile strength, like if you try and pull it apart. It's a hermetic, airtight, and watertight closure. It's completely sealed. I learned about inventors from an early age. I feel like they're my elder peers. These are just people growing up in their time periods and looking at these problems that they're facing and trying to solve them and make the future brighter. If you are black, white, blue, green, red, you can be an inventor. It just starts with you have to have an original idea that is unique and useful. I saw Gideon's son back, and he is the inventor of the modern zipper, and I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm trying to take him out in a way. It's a daunting task to create something that no one's ever seen. Inventors, we're doers. We want to change the world in some way. They're my heroes. I want to join them in history.
Something's wrong. Don't know what yet. I think I may need to get a little screwdriver. Whoa, yeah, there we go. This is the world's first LCD projector. I initially started working on this in 1968. Back in the 60s, We had small TVs. Everybody was a little unsatisfied by the little picture, and me too. So I thought maybe I could come up with a better idea. And I came upon the idea after a lot of experiments to use a liquid crystal display in 1971. It's the first one of its kind. All projectors today are based on the principles that I invented. Trial and error, did experiments, finally made it work. Then I wrote patent applications for this and filed them, and eventually got patents on this. And this became the new way to project video. Anytime you invent something, first of all, you may be making an innovation simply putting together things that were never put together before. But also sometimes you come up with an additional innovation that gets added to things that exist, and that new innovation is something that never existed.
Oh, it works. I invented a way to ventilate someone that's in cardiac arrest that's so easy to use that my 5-year-old daughter could do it. Hey, you. I was a paramedic at the time. I had this moment that was inspired by a commercial for CPR, and I said there has to be a better way to ventilate people during cardiac arrest. I simplified a medical procedure that was reserved for doctors and paramedics. This is my invention. This is the Ventor. And so what you do is if this patient was unresponsive, you just walk up, size the airway, place it, and put it in the patient's mouth. And that is now an intubated patient. It uses our patented technique to determine where the tube goes. And then this is our patented ventilation technique that actually synchronizes with CPR. Oh, the head? Yeah, we call him unhappy. I don't know how to describe it. When an idea that has never, maybe never been thought before comes through you, there's something divine about it. And I'd like to take credit, but I can't. It's something very, very special.
Started in 1982. They're just applying a chiller to a cooling coil for a gas turbine application. The inventors try to utilize scientific principles in a creative way to solve problems. Big problem with the grid is how do you store electricity? We store electricity as chilled water. Just keep working. They're videoing. We test out different types of cooling systems for data center. As you can see, we have different ways of cooling directly on the chip without the use of air, liquid to chip cooling. That's what we're experimenting with here. How I got into the industry. Started focusing on the power industry, focusing on what is the absolute best way to chill the air. In the U.S., one of the biggest job creators is not just inventions, but the businesses that follow that. And taking the risk to go out and change the world.
My dream for this product would be to see it next to the defibrillators on the walls, those AEDs, the electrical shock that you put through the heart that anybody can use. I would love to see my product next to one of those and then hear the success stories of people surviving cardiac arrest and CPR because of it. These are our patents. We've gotten approved by the US. This is the first one we got. When this came in the mail, that was a proud moment, pretty cool moment. Professionally, it's probably one of the best moments of my life. Knowing that I had thought a thought that no one else had actually had. And this was part of the reward and part of what it's going to take to move this company forward. The value of my company are on these patents. If I presented this to a company or a company found out about what I was working on and reverse engineered it and then was able to work around my patents, it would break my heart. In the sense of two things. One, it's unfair. And then two, I would feel helpless to match their resource and be able to fight them in court. I just don't have the resources available to me.
Once I had it worked out, I filed for a patent. So I had patent pending all through this Kickstarter campaign. Just a few months after Kickstarter, she gets a text message from one of her friends.
And it said, we saw your product on TV, but it has a different name on it. The kids were watching commercials. And I said, no, that couldn't be. It's probably something similar, but it's not like our product. She said, no, it looks exactly like your product. It was our baby, like it was exactly our product. And they had put a different name on it, and they had different kids, and they were selling it. It was so disturbing. And it was before the real product even got to the shelves. They were already selling.
Yeah, we weren't even in the market yet. We weren't sure what to think at first, because like, who did this?
Yeah, how can this even be?
This is a joke, or so, I didn't know if it was a joke or if it was, I had no idea. And then I think an hour or two later, I found out like it was not a joke, it was dead serious. This was Telebrands.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but one of my first 500 orders was one of them, and I shipped them product, and we found out that they took that product, they took it apart, and they cannibalized it, they painted it blue, and they went and shot this TV commercial.
So we thought, this is wrong, we have a patent, it's gonna be over, this is gonna be a fight, but we need to call them, tell them to stop, and then it'll be over.
We go into Walmart the next spring, shopping for groceries, and kids are like, Dad, there's the knockoffs. So we walk in, they got this pallet load of these things. And so we file a suit, we file a motion for a preliminary injunction, and the court grants it. They sold a whole bunch of units, they made a whole bunch of money by stealing my invention, but they can't do it next year. 3 weeks after the injunction goes into effect, they start marketing a product called Battle Balloons. And they say, this doesn't infringe Josh's patent. This is different, the injunction doesn't apply to us anymore.
This whole time while this is going on, we're getting this bad news, we're understanding what's happening, and we have friends calling us saying, oh, we got your invention and it didn't work. And the kids always say, did you get it in a bag or a box? And they say, oh, a box. That wasn't our invention.
Meanwhile, I get 2 more patents at issue. So we file another lawsuit. We're several $1 million into this. We haven't gotten to trial yet. We just got preliminary orders. What's going to happen next year?
Get smart with Easy Einstein balloons.
Well, what happened next year was they came out with Easy Einstein balloons, and they said this doesn't infringe Josh's patents. But by now I had patents 4 and 5 had issued, so we file another lawsuit. So they had 2 choices when we filed suit. They could say, oh, we don't infringe the patent, we don't use the patent. Well, that wasn't going to work, it was an exact copy. So there are other choices to say, oh, Josh didn't earn this patent, it was a mistake. And in this case, that was what they said. They said the patent office made a mistake because Josh says when his balloons are substantially filled with water, they fall off and seal themselves. And they hired an MIT professor to say, no one understands when a balloon is substantially filled with water. And of course the judge said that's absurd, and he threw it out. The judges actually laughed at their attorney when he made this argument, and he gave us the injunction. And then they appealed. We had to pay an attorney to go to DC and argue at the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. We won there, but at the same time, they went back to the patent office, to the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. So under the American Invents Act, they created this new division of the patent office. It was shocking, the dichotomy between what happens in a real court of law where you're having a dispute about property rights and what happens in the PTAB. You show up in this modernist courtroom, there's this high bench and these attorneys sit behind this big desk. They're kind of peering over the monitor, and it's all technocratic. 1 or 2 of these guys will be live, and then 1 or 2 will be remote, like on Skype.
So what is this balloon? Received record, obscene telephone contacts.
They call him an administrative patent judge, but he's not really a judge, and I don't know what to call these guys. No testimony, no jury. They told the PTAB that the same argument. No one can understand when a balloon is substantially filled with water. And in this case, they agreed with them.
Okay.
And they said, you're free to copy Josh's invention. They've taken this patent that I've earned. I've followed the law. I didn't cheat, lie, steal. The examiner didn't do anything wrong. The district court didn't think he did anything wrong. And the Federal Circuit doesn't think he did anything wrong. And the PTAB said, no, you can't have this patent, Josh. We're taking it back. They've now said it's invalid. It was like the inverse of when I got the prototype to work. It was this magical, it was this hopeful, this has got potential. This was just this dark cloud. I've always been wired to solve problems. Things don't work well, they're inefficient, and I want to find a better way to do it. This was just, what have I run into here?
We really thought we had a patent, we're protected, we're good. We just need to email them and let them know, or tell them we already have a patent and this will all be solved. But it turns out our patents did nothing for us. There was no protection at all.
So we found out this Telebrands is just a bad actor, and they abuse the legal system and they abuse inventors. But I think what really punched us in the gut was the system is rigged. They get away with this because the laws and the patent office and the courts have enabled it.
The original argument for why we needed the PTAB is that every once in a while there will be a mistakenly issued patent that shouldn't have issued, and that these patents can clog the gears of the innovation economy. Unfortunately, what Congress created was a completely unrestrained, unrestricted agency whose job is to cancel patents.
What you literally have going on is in one part of the building, examiners are working very hard to research patents and to do a good job. And then in another part of the building, their work is basically being trampled. All the work that they put into granting that patent is being tossed out by the very same entity that granted it in the first place and that paid them to do that job.
There's some presumption, or at least there used to be, that if the patent office awarded you a patent, they had thoroughly reviewed your idea, and that the benefit of the doubt was yours, that you invented this, and somebody else was going to have to prove you didn't. That's been turned on its head.
There are a tremendous number of differences between how the PTAB functions as an administrative tribunal and how a regular court with a judge functions. You get to have appropriate levels of discovery and bring evidence. You get to have a jury trial if you wish to have a jury trial, which is secured under the 7th Amendment of the US Constitution, as opposed to the swift, so-called efficient administrative procedures that are provided at the PTAB, which's sole job is geared towards invalidating patents.
What you have here is an artificial body making essentially judicial decisions because they have the ability then to take away a property right from an inventor. The members of that board are really executive branch appointees. So you have this violation of the separation of powers that the founders put into the Constitution as a means of protecting the rights of individuals.
Administrative tribunals tend to be less accountable, less transparent. That, of course, in an area like intellectual property rights is extremely problematic because of the kinds of expectation interests are involved and the need for certainty.
The invalidation rates are anywhere between the high 60% to almost 100%. And it's far beyond what you see in the regular courts when patents are challenged as being invalid in courts. Former chief judge of a court of appeals for the Federal Circuit referred to the PTAB as the death squad for patents.
They're overruling the district courts 76% of the time. If you can get to court, the PTAB will overrule them 3/4 of the time.
Who wants to spend $1.5 million defending any patent when your odds of winning are only 30%?
You lose once, it's lost forever. The infringer has an infinite number of attacks. They can attack you forever. As long as they pay their attorney's bills, they're going to keep attacking you.
What they did to me is they found other patents by other companies that had some similarity to some part of this. They said, well, you see this, all these different things. You just take all those, put it together, and we got yours. My innovation was to put all these different things together that didn't exist at the time and to add some new things that never existed. And they ignored that. They befuddled and confused these examiners on the PTAB who are not experts in the field that my projector is in, and fooled them into agreeing with them that it should never have been granted. So the PTAB then invalidated my claims.
I had always assumed that the patent system worked in a relatively fair and straightforward manner. We had a particular project in Florida. Our competitor was based in Florida, and basically they copied exactly what we were doing, what was in our patent. So we felt very confident that our intellectual property rights would protect us. But we found out that that's not the case. Our very first one, invalidated. Our second one, invalidated. Our third one, invalidated. And our fourth one, all invalidated. Every single claim that was contested. And it would actually, a much better process would be as soon as a patent is issued, somebody at the patent office flips a coin. Heads, the patent is good. Tails, it's no good. Biggest winners are the lawyers. The losers are almost everybody else. I never would have dreamed that we would even have one of our patents invalidated, much less all four of them. We're not able to utilize any of them. So we've already spent the money, and we leave them on the wall. I guess it's better than having a blank wall.
.95% of the value of my company is dependent on those patents and the legal protection of them. The life of an inventor is unknown. But the idea of protection of patents shouldn't be one of those variables.
I really wanted to create something that would touch many people. I wanted it to impact everyone and make their lives that much easier. Investors, they're hesitant to invest in technologies in the United States because if the patent, it's the only thing that they hold on to secure their investment. But they don't know if my patent's going to be enforced or not. They don't know if it's going to be valid or invalid. It's very up in the air. There's no security, really. Like I say to my parents, I wish I was your age. I wish I had created this when you were 23 so that we could adequately enforce and protect this right. But, now I feel that I'm really not able to do that in the United States.
When it comes to hopes and dreams, and we teach our kids, it's all based on the idea that we think that they're going to create something maybe in the future in their life, and that we should still be able to give them the benefits of having created something to help mankind or the environment. And in fact, that they should not be stifled by our own government, and even worse, challenged and almost ridiculed to lose all of their interest. We're so demotivating the actual creators of our future.
I believed in the patent system, I still do. All of us do. This is what guarantees, this is what in the Constitution secures to inventors the exclusive right to their discoveries. I thought that was the deal. I shared my invention, I published it, I followed the law, I paid the fees. I received this in return. But this is a pretty piece of paper, you can stick it on the wall, but it's worthless to enforce that right. The infringer got off scot-free copying my invention. That's why I'm burning my patent today.
We take so many things for granted in this great nation of ours, right? And one of the things we've taken so for granted is this patent system. And what we're seeing now is a total destruction of that. And it's a crime, and it's something that people need to be aware of.
My entire family's here. They all sacrificed. My kids are here, my wife is here. They watched me pursue my dream, to make life easier for them and the next generations, and that's going up in smoke. The laws need to change, period.
We American inventors need to have those rights preserved if this nation is going to exist as a powerful leading nation in innovation.
Patents are at the core of what makes America great. It's time for us to make patents great again. I believe that it starts here.
An argument you sometimes hear about the legitimacy of PTAB is, well, look, you're not really affecting property in the traditional sense. But if you go back to the founding era, the framers didn't see the sweat of one's brow in the intellectual property space as different from other fundamental real property rights.
One of the great problems in our understanding of these things today is a confusion about this idea of rights. Your private rights, your personal rights, the things that are most important to you, your home, but also your intellectual property, is a basket of rights that are equally protected. And the protection of those things as a whole is crucially important.
The whole basis of our government is to protect our rights, to protect the rights of people to their life, to their property. So when private property is attacked, it harms us. It harms who we are as people.
The result of this has created this moral panic about the nature of patents. You can't have the creation of those new things without there being property rights in them to facilitate the creation.
Ownership and private property is something that has made us unique. We're not serfs. We are citizens of a free nation.
Property is the basis of our freedom. Property is also the basis of capitalism. If you cannot use your own property to create wealth, and if the state is going to take your property, then we'll stop creating wealth. And innovation is that engine of our economy. It is the essential core of our economy.
You see this every week on Shark Tank, right? What's the first question that venture capitalists ask of every single person who comes to them when they finally have an idea that they're interested in investing in? Do you have a patent in it? And the reason is because there has to be a property right to serve as the basis for our agreement to give you money.
So what is the Phantom? Well, the easiest way to explain it is the computer monitor lets you see things inside the computer. The Phantom lets you touch things inside the computer.
I started a company, and I can tell you, nobody would have put a dime in my company if they thought somebody else was going to rip off the idea that they invested in. You've got to have a competitive advantage and a barrier to entry from your competitors before anybody is even going to put the first dollar in backing you.
One of the unintended things that has happened with the PTAB system is that investors are out there using it in a very cynical way to short stocks. They will short a stock and then they will file a patent challenge with the PTAB. What happens if you're a company and one of your major patents was just challenged at PTAB? Your stock goes down. So it's a very cynical way to use this PTAB process to short stocks and to manipulate the market.
What happens is you have large, massive multinational corporations who spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year on just providing coffee for their various employees. When an inventor comes to them and says, "You're using my innovation, please pay me a license fee," they say, "Go pound sand. Go pound sand, because what are you going to do? You're going to sue us? Great. You're going to spend thousands of dollars on an attorney to file a case. We're going to then tie you up in court. Meanwhile, we're also going to file several petitions to cancel your patent at the PTAB. More likely than not, we'll win at the PTAB and you'll end up with nothing anyway. So you should go away because you're going to end up with no patent." It's easier and cheaper for large companies to simply infringe patents than it is for them to actually pay legitimate patent owners, legitimate inventors and innovators, the money that they should be paid for the use of their property.
Inventors create businesses that create jobs. So when we stifle the inventor from the very start and he can't get the business going, or it turns into a liability that people are challenging because they can use the patent laws against the inventor now, it's destroying the whole system and our economy will suffer for it. For 30 years, I've been helping inventors bring their products to market. One of the biggest concerns now is because as they become more and more aware of what's going on with the patent laws, they're actually fearing that they'll be able to even succeed at bringing their product to market, and once they do, that they could be challenged and lose those rights.
It's cost Josh millions of dollars. That money would have been way better spent inventing other things. We will not know the products that Josh did not invent because he has been spending his time trying to defend an existing patent instead of going on and creating other things.
The little guy's got to compete on ideas and being innovative. But if he innovates something and the big guys see it and there's nothing to stop him from snatching that idea, the little guy will never get off the ground.
There are lots of culprits in this sad case. Much of this is being driven by some companies who are not so much in the business of creating ideas, but instead buying other people's ideas. They want to devalue the property interest so they can buy the patent more cheaply.
The genesis of a lot of this came early in the tech revolution when the whole attitude was ship it now and worry about problems later, and they did the same thing with regard to patents. So a lot of these companies started suddenly having to defend a lot of patent challenges, and they didn't like that. And they got the idea that, it would be really nice if we could eliminate this problem.
Lobbyists are here every day from the big tech companies, ironically, who got started out with innovative ideas. But now that they're the gorillas, they want to pull up the ladder, and they're spending millions and millions of dollars every year to try and get legislation passed here that would weaken the patent system.
There's something inherent in the software industry that patents and intellectual property was not as important to them as it is to most industries. You've probably upgraded your software 5 times before its patent actually expires. And so the software industry and some internet companies have actually had a fairly pernicious impact on our intellectual property system by seeing it as an inconvenience to their innovation.
And the result is what now lawyers call efficient infringement. It's cheaper for them to disrespect rights than it is for them to actually recognize and respect people's property rights.
When they steal it, you can't do anything about it. If that's the case, all the lone inventors will disappear. They'll dry up. We'll get no more of these new innovative inventions and technologies. I had the privilege of working with the inventor that built the first MRIs, and I was often the guinea pig. I would get an MRI every day, or sometimes 2. And this is an MRI of a patient. It's 3D, and you can look around it. This is the holographic projector that I invented, and it's taking light and causing it to focus into midair. It's creating a 3-dimensional image in midair. And I'm using this principle to treat diseases like cancer. What we're doing is using a system that sends energy into the body, but instead of just sending it indirectly, like is done today with radiotherapy, which will harm all the healthy cells on their way into the cancer cell, what we're doing is teleporting the energy from the source to the tumor, but the energy will not appear in the space in between. But once it gets to the focus of where the tumor is, the energy's there and it can destroy the tumor. Cancer has been researched for decades and decades, and yet cancer is the fastest growing disease on Earth. So new solutions are needed, and using something brand new out of science fiction, which is not fiction anymore, and has the potential to cure cancers everywhere and stop all the suffering. I developed many applications in holography, and this is one of them, treating disease. However, if I'm not able to protect it through our patent system, it disincentivizes me to not have a way to protect it and benefit from it. So what it's doing is it's pushing me to say, well, let's go to another country where we'll have protection.
Other countries aren't sitting still. They're looking at us saying, well, the United States is metaphorically shooting itself in the head by killing its innovation system. Maybe we can take their place. Countries like China are paying attention to this.
Innovation is the primary force driving development. It is the strategic underpinning for building a modernized economy.
If you had said to me 10 years ago, China would be providing more stable and effective patent rights to innovators than the United States, I would have said you're insane. But this is exactly what's happened. China has gone from becoming a massive source of infringement, which it still is in some respects, to having a legal system that at least provides protections for innovators in their country. And that's an important first step to shifting also from being a source of infringement, because once they recognize that the source of our economic growth is producing new innovation ourselves, and they're creating the legal system to incentivize that and secure it, they will then become creators of that innovation.
So for instance, you have the Made in China 2025 initiative, which has identified 10 sectors, such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors, electric vehicles, that China is pouring so much money into. And that's why they want to protect patents, because they believe that they're going to own the technology of the future.
Comrades, by that time, China's economic and technological strength has increased significantly. China has become a global leader in innovation.
They're going to be strengthening their patent system. We're weakening our patent system. We need a strong patent system because in this global economy, we're going to have to compete with our brains, not by degrading our environment or by mistreating our workers.
I think we have perhaps greater competition from other countries and a greater need for the United States to be competitive with those countries. And in fact, the weakening of the patent system that has taken place in our country is contributing to that lack of ability to compete.
According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the United States this year slipped for the very first time from having the #1 ranked patent system behind Singapore in terms of they have stronger patent systems than we do now.
And we don't want to wake up in a decade from now and see that China is a leader when it comes to artificial intelligence and driverless cars and flying driverless cars and who knows what else the future holds. We want to be able to have those inventions created here in our country and for our people in America to flourish from creating and from reaping the benefits of their creations.
1,700 patent applications were filed in China, in the European Union, in the United States. All 1,700 patent applications were granted in China and the European Union, and they were denied in the United States for being unpatentable inventions under the new Supreme Court rulings. And these are inventions on radical diagnostic methods for treating cancer, diabetes. Inventors are going overseas now and obtaining patents in other countries such as China and Europe. And if that's the case, that is where their venture capital funding will go. That is where businesses will be set up, manufacturing and licensing will occur, and they will benefit from that with their economic growth and their innovation economies, just like the United States did with stable and effective property rights and innovation for a very long time, for the first 200 years of this country.
I'll now note that I've now heard that China is the country we're going to base the high mark of patent tolerance on.
I'm on the way to the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. Telebrands has appealed the preliminary injunction against battle balloons and Easy Einstein balloons. We won in district court. We won all 4 points, and they're going to come here and argue that they don't infringe the patent, and that the patent's probably invalid, and that the balance of hardships weighs in their favor. It actually harms them to have to respect my patent rights, and then that's not in the public interest for them to be prohibited from selling their copies. The judges here seem to not persuaded by Telebrand's repetition of the same arguments they tried before. This is Bala. We're gonna have a little talk.
He's recording and audio is on, so I just wanted you to know that.
Oh, okay. He came to me with an offer that was less than we won at jury trial. Well, basically he was threatening if we don't take less than we won, then he'll keep appealing and doing what he did here today and forever and ever. It's basically extortion. So take less than we owe you and we'll quit having our lawyers and our MIT expert make up arguments and drag you into court.
This isn't a great picture, is it? It's very serious, and what's crazy is that us inventors who are normally very reserved, we're not normally very charismatic, outgoing people. We like working on a bench and making things work. Well, if it's come down to the point now where we have to come here to Washington to protest and make our voice be heard, if we want to get our country back on its feet in these regards, we have to change our patent laws.
We have destroyed our patent system and they've helped it.
We don't have lobbyists. We are the lobbyists. All we have is ourselves. And that's, I have to tell you, the most powerful voice there is.
Same patent office that signed and issued my patents, they're taking them away now. The first 3 have been canceled. Second,
You're
third, and
kidding.
fourth. Yeah, they've wiped out. They've forgiven them for all the infringement. They're overruling the district courts 76% of the time.
Wow.
If you can get to court, the PTAB will overrule them 3/4 of the time. And that's what they're doing in my case.
I can't bring jobs back to America because I'm going to China because that's where the manufacturing is and that's where the innovation is.
I guess he was one of the few people that saw this coming when they passed the America Invents Act. He said it broke his heart then, and I think it probably broke his heart to see all these inventors that their dreams were crushed, their children's dreams are being crushed, and he's very concerned. The real effects aren't going to be seen for another 10 or 20 years when we're looking for the next innovation, the next cure, the next major technology hurdle. Who's going to bring it? Google and Facebook and Elon Musk? We're going to have to import it from China.
If our patent system dies, our country dies. Every part of our life, we rely upon patent innovation, both in creating innovation, because that's what happens. Josh Malone and all these other great innovators, these were average Americans, people who rose up by taking advantage of the opportunities provided by our patent system. This is a key part of what makes America great.
We need the best inventors, the best inventive processes in the United States and in the ability of our country to manufacture and to utilize new technologies for the benefit of the country.
We need to stop the flow of legislation in Congress in which Congress continually weakens patent protections by weakening the laws that define how patent rights are to be protected. We need to reestablish the stable and effective property rights, which is what American innovators have been able to rely upon for most of this country's history.
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully.
Patents are the lifeblood of America.
Ignition sequence starts.
Innovation doesn't just appear, it doesn't just happen. It happens when people want to push the envelope. They want to take it to a new place. They want to do something that hasn't been done before.
You have to have people who are willing to take risks, inventing new things and thinking differently.
You look at what has been invented in the world that's important. It's hard to think of something important that wasn't invented in America. In the DNA of America is this inventive spirit which coincides with a system that was created for it.
We have to strengthen our patent rights and our intellectual property rights so that we can experience a burst of economic growth, more Americans working, more Americans inventing.
Inventors are the people who have imagined great things. They're the people who are responsible for generating wealth, improving our economy, improving our lives. Those are the heroes in this land.
We try to build things.
I remember the moment that we realized we were onto something, but I honestly didn't know how special it was to really have a unique idea and a different way of doing things, and what an honor that is.
All the great things that we've done have been based on individual inventors putting their ideas together, and that's a fundamental idea of America.
We keep going, we keep pressing on, we keep trying, we keep innovating.
The United States once led the world in new medications, new technology, and new ideas. American inventors and their inventions touched the lives of people in every country of every race and every language. Our patent system, which gives inventors a property right in their creation, whatever it may be, benefits all of us by creating an inventive incentive. But our weakening patent system is invalidating their property rights, and with it, their incentive to create. Money and inventions are now going to other countries, and with them go jobs and a strong economy. Building something and owning it is the American dream, and we all benefit from that. But without a strong patent system, the American dream will be invalidated.